Good afternoon. We'll bring this meeting to order. Before we start here, Susie, if you would like to roll call, please.
Before roll call, Chair, we'd like to read a message.
Yes, please.
The District Board of Health conducts the business of Washoe County and its citizens during its meetings. The presiding officer may order the removal of any person whose statement or other conduct disrupts the orderly, efficient, or safe conduct of the meeting. Warnings against disruptive comments or behavior may or may not be given prior to removal. The viewpoint of a speaker will not be restricted, but reasonable restrictions may be imposed upon the time, place, and manner of speech. Irrelevant and unduly repetitious statements and personal attacks which antagonize or incite others are examples of speech that may be reasonably limited. In accordance with the Declaration of Emergency Directive 047, all persons in counties with substantial or high community transmission rates will require to wear face coverings while in public indoor spaces, regardless of vaccination status. This mandate is in effect in Washoe County as we are designated as a community with high transmission rate. Chair Delgado?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lucy?
Here.
Michael Brown?
Here.
Councilman Dare? Will be absent, will come in later, Chair. Dr. Danko?
Here.
Dr. Novak?
Here.
Tom Young?
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Susie. Appreciate that. As stated to those in the public that are joining us here today, I ask that you please put on your mask. And if you do not have a mask, one can be provided for you by our security. And so, again, asking for warning, asking for cooperation, asking for respect to please wear your mask at all times. District Health Officer, do shields qualify as masks? Just for proper information and education for our community?
Under the directive, the face shields do not constitute a face mask.
Great. So if you have a shield, you can continue to wear a shield, but you also need to wear a mask underneath your shield, please. And so we have those. Okay. Excuse me, we will not conversate from the chair. Ma'am, we will conduct decorum here accordingly. And if those that are wishing to speak against, please, I ask to please conduct yourselves professionally and respectfully so we can conduct our business here today. Again, respectfully, please place your mask on. Security will walk around, provide you with a mask if you do not have one. And if you do not want to wear one, you'll be kindly asked to leave our meeting this afternoon. Fair warning to everyone. Appreciate it. Hopefully we can do this well and respectfully. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Danko, lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Susie, public comment, please.
Yes, Chair. I'd just like to make a note that there is a public comment that was sent to us by Ms. Marika Moore. So it'll be on the record for her, per her request. I also had Ms. Rachel Huff registered for public comment. If she's logged on, she could start her comment now.
Okay.
Ms. Huff, are you available? It sounds like she's not, Chair. So is she?
Ms. Huff, if you're on, please, you're on for public comment. See none, we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, the next public comment we have registered via email is Ms. Frances McKeon.
Can you please put the mic closer a little? I don't think it's on. You want to check to see if the light's on.
This one?
There you go.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
The recent issues with the COVID pandemic has put a lot of focus on public health. I started to ask myself, what exactly does the Washoe County Health Board do? Who sits on the board? How do they dictate public health care policy? What was the professional expertise of the Washoe County Health members? So I decided to look, and in researching the board's background, I was surprised to see that many members do not have a background nor actively practice in a healthcare setting. With all due respect for your service, I was disappointed. This is a health board. If I have a problem or a question with my plumbing, I call a plumber. If I have a medical question or concern about a pandemic virus, I ask a healthcare professional who is actively practicing medicine. If I have a research-related question, I consult an expert in the field. We are so fortunate in our community to have the University of Nevada right here in our own town. We have a medical school, a nursing school, we have public health programs, we have a robust medical research facility. And I'm just asking why we don't have better representation from our board to our community that can give us an update on what's going on in research. I, for one, would greatly appreciate hearing from more experts in healthcare, and I thank you for your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Mr. Nicholas St. John, followed by Janet Butcher.
Sir, I need you to put on a mask.
I have here with me Directive 024 from the governor that because of my medical condition, I'm exempt from wearing a mask. Are we good?
District Health Officer, hold your applauses, please. If anyone speaks from or applauses from the audience, you'll be asked to be moved. District Health Officer, is that? Okay. Okay, sir, you may.
Okay. All right. As has been indicated before, there's a disappointment in this health district, and especially in Kevin Dick from his leadership and his recommendations. One of the things that we have seen from a number of scientific studies and those that are prominent in our community across this country are doctors that are highly qualified and have information about prophylaxis for being able to prevent this disease and how to treat it without a vaccine, and yet it's all been ignored. Because of that, that has turned this into what's considered a hoax. According to Title 18, 1038, false information and hoaxes. In general, whoever engages in any conduct with intent to convey false or misleading information under circumstances where such information may reasonably be believed and where such information indicates that an activity has taken, is taking, or will take place that would constitute a violation of a whole bunch of chapters I'm not going to read here, be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. If serious bodily injury results, which it has, be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both. And C, if death results, which it has, be fined under this title or imprisoned for any number of years up to life or both. 1038 is about perpetuating a hoax. 1040 is false information, fraud in connection with major disaster or emergency benefits, which we all agree this is supposed to be a major disaster. 1040, whoever in a circumstance described in Section B of this section knowingly falsifies, conceals, or covers up by any trick, scheme, or device any material fact, makes any materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or representation, or makes or uses any false writing or document knowing the same to contain any materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statements or representations. Does any of this sound familiar? There are fines that go along with this for anyone who has received funding from this hoax that they have been perpetuating. We are continuing to ask for you to fire Kevin Dick or Kevin, we're asking you to resign immediately. Your leadership has been dismal. I want you guys to understand that we are working on a case for this, and we want you to know that we will, in fact, pursue this. And so we want you to know that every night when you go to sleep, I want you to wonder if at 5 o'clock in the morning, the FBI doesn't bust in your door and haul you off to jail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Ms. Janet Butcher, followed by Darla Lee.
It was nice not to have to go through the metal detector. It's appreciated that International Drug Awareness Day, which is August 31st, is being recognized. However, what is really being done? I'm going to address the fact that no bodies or agencies, city, county, or state, are letting their voices be heard that there is a huge issue with drugs, especially fentanyl being allowed to be brought into our communities. The crisis at our border with the drug cartels should be a huge concern to our county health district, county commissioners, city government, and state government. Why aren't these other agencies standing up and demanding that our current administration in the White House put a stop to the open border policy? The opioid and drug, especially street drug crisis in our community and the country as a whole is spiraling beyond acceptability. Please give this some thought and some real action. Why is it not important to keep our community safe? Why not speak out about the fentanyl that is being allowed to stream across the southern border? Over 93,000 overdoses last year, an increase by 34% alone. And not all the data has been gathered yet in Nevada. The illegal undocumented drugs being brought into our community should be a big concern as well, if not so, the human trafficking crisis. Our law enforcement needs to be recognized for the efforts. However, why is the burden placed on them when there is a solution at the root of the problem? I realize that it won't be 100%, but isn't it logical to start at an obvious place? Last but not least, let us also mention the spread of COVID. If there is such a big concern about the spread of COVID, why are we allowing untested and tested positive illegals to be dropped into our communities? That is, if COVID is truly on the rise, if you think about it, the new surge has happened since the open border policy. The agencies are more concerned about a mask that does no good whatsoever to protect you from the spread, and an experimental injection that does not protect from getting or spreading the disease. Why is there silence on this? Last, God bless our military and our fellow citizens in Afghanistan. Last reported is that 12 Marines have lost their lives.
Thank you.
Chair, we're gonna check the audio just to make sure that everybody has sound.
Ma'am, before you start, we need to check audio for those that are on Zoom. Chairman Lucy, can you hear us? Check. Commissioner Lucy, can you hear us?
We got you now. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Just wait for Susie to get back there, and then you can start, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you
So we'll
said.
wait until Susie gets back so we can start.
Okay, Ms. Lee, I'll start.
Yes, Darla Lee for the record. I believe it was on Good Morning America recently that Dr. Fauci announced that the American people should forego some liberty and get a COVID shot for the good of all. I'm paraphrasing him, but I think you understand the context. And when I hear such Marxist-style statements, I am shocked that so many would blindly obey. In fact, I've talked with a number of people who are, without any factual evidence, blaming the people that decide not to get a shot, which is their legal and constitutional right. They are being blamed for the spread of this new variant, which is patently ridiculous since so many in the hospital now are in there that have already been vaccinated with, and they have Delta. So what is what's the point here? Why is the CDC, as far as my information, has stopped counting deaths from the vaccine, the shot, it's not a vaccine. They stopped counting. I believe it was the H1N1 disease that they pulled the vaccine after a minimal amount of deaths, which was, I think, under 50. And already there have been counts of 4,500 that have died from the various shots that they have been given at this point. So there are a number of experts that obviously you folks are not consulting. And I think it is remiss, and I'm sorry if you are so bored, Dr. Novak, but one of the facts that I have discovered was that normally in trials, pregnant women and nursing mothers are excluded. Now, if that isn't the fact, I would like somebody to verify it for me. But the CDC is currently, and you as well, are saying the shots are fine for this category. So it's just unconscionable if they didn't have nursing mothers and pregnant women in the trials, could they possibly know what harm it would do? And yet you are still wanting to go along with the CDC, which I think they say, yes, pregnant mothers could get seriously ill. Is that like in death? Something to think about, perhaps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Ms. Cheryl Perino, followed by Mr. Roger Edwards.
I'm getting a feel of how this works since this week I've gone to 3 meetings now. It appears we can talk, but no one really listens. You've all have predetermined decisions that you've already made. What I'd like, since I don't hear answers to our questions, that maybe one of you would ask somebody the questions so we could get some answers. Do you know about the New World Order, Agenda 21? 7.8 billion people are to be killed to 500 million globally. That's why this is a global pandemic. And will be slaves by 2025 and own no property. So though you might be implementing their policies now, you will be right along with us dead. Stop saying the masks, the PCR tests, the vaccines, which are bioweapons, the lockdowns, and the green zones, which are disguised. They're really quarantine death camps. Stop saying they are for the safety and health of us and our children. You have got us very motivated now. You're after our kids. We will not stop till we win. Are you familiar with the Nuremberg Code? Crimes against humanity will be tried for the death penalty. I will hold, and everyone who represents freedom, the right to choose, will win, and will come after everyone who's responsible for implementing the New World Order.
Thank you. Again, for those that may have come in a little later, if you do not have a mask, please put on your masks. If you don't have a mask, security, do we have masks in the back for those that don't have masks? There's a box right back here if you don't have a mask. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next.
Up next, we have Mr. Roger Edwards, followed by Mr. Bruce Foster.
Good afternoon, Roger Edwards for the record. 48-year resident of Washoe County. 8 years I served on a planning commission sitting in the same chair as you are. I've been in front of the community nearly, well, since 1973. I don't know how old some of you are, but I don't want to be here. These folks don't want to be here. They're here because they're pushed into coming down and complaining about stuff. Don't you guys get that? This governor's emergency mandates are not law, and we don't have to follow them. We're just being polite, okay? His emergency mandate authority only goes for 30 days, 90 days at a max, and he has to get a law passed if he wants to press on with this kind of these requirements. That hasn't happened. There's no law that says we have to wear a mask or do any of this other nonsense because of a public emergency. There's no emergency. Emergencies are short-term and are either dealt with or accepted, and that's not happening, folks, and you guys know that. You guys are very intelligent. You know what's going on here. You've seen 100 of different reports, or at least we have. If you refuse to believe what you read and what's out there, then do the community a favor and get off this group. You're supposed to be representing us. All right? And the emergency, and that 30, 90 days window, that's NRS. I didn't make that up. I mean, I would hope you would go to the NRS all the time to check on stuff because it doesn't change that often, but nobody refers to it. And by the way, our Attorney General has opined that applause during a public meeting is within the regulation and is approved. So you cannot stop an applause as long as it's a reasonable amount. And this vaccine thing, you guys know that it's not a vaccine. Vaccine takes years to culture from the dead bacteria itself, and then it has to be cultured, and then on and on and on. You cannot come up with this mRNA, program. That's it's just a chemical. It's a research chemical made in a lab, originally for animals, by the way, and not the two-legged kind. Come on, guys. Please represent the Republic.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Mr. Bruce Foster, followed by James Benton.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen on the board here. Since you all appear to be my contemporary, does this really feel like the America that we grew up in? Well, let's take a look down memory lane and take a look at Abbott and Costello and their little banter. Bud, you can't come in here. Lou, why not? Bud, well, because you're unvaccinated. Lou, but I'm not sick. Bud, it doesn't matter. Lou, well, why does that guy get to go in? Bud, because he's vaccinated. Lou, but he's sick. Bud, it's all right. Everyone in here is vaccinated. Lou, wait a minute. Are you saying everyone in here is vaccinated? Bud, yes. Lou, so then why can't I go in there if everyone is vaccinated? Bud, because you'll make them sick. Lou, how will I make them sick if I'm not sick and they're vaccinated? Bud, because you're unvaccinated. Lou, but they're vaccinated. Bud, but they can still get sick. Lou, so what the heck does the vaccine do? Bud, it vaccinates. Lou, so vaccinated people can't spread COVID? Bud, oh no, they can spread COVID just as easily as an unvaccinated person. Lou, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Look, I'm not sick. Bud, okay. Lou, and the guy you let in is sick. Bud, that's right. Lou, and everyone in there can still get sick even though they're vaccinated. Bud, certainly. Lou, but so why can't I go in again? Bud, because you're unvaccinated. Lou, I'm not asking who's vaccinated or not, but I'm not just telling you how it is. Lou, never mind, I'll just put on my mask. Bud, that's fine. Lou, now can I go in? Bud, absolutely not. Lou, but if I have a mask. Bud, doesn't matter. Lou, I was able to come in here yesterday with a mask. But I know, Lou, so why can't I come in here with a mask? If you say because I'm unvaccinated again, I'll break your arm. But just take it easy, buddy. Lou, so the mask is no good anymore. But no, it's still good. Lou, but I can't come in. But correct. Lou, why not? But because you're unvaccinated. Lou, but the mask prevents the germs from getting out. But yes, but people can still catch your germs. Lou, but they're all vaccinated. But yes, but they can still get sick. Lou, but I'm not sick. But you can still get them sick. Lou, so then masks don't work. But masks work quite well. Lou, so how in the heck can I get vaccinated people sick if I'm not sick and masks don't work?
Thank you.
Third base sums up this insanity.
Thank you.
Mr. James Banthen, followed by Cindy Martinez.
James M. Benthan for the record. I'm here to talk about COVID-19. Much of the information that we see on TV, in the media, doesn't totally explain what is happening concerning COVID-19. Sometimes we depend on investigative reporting, but that seems to have failed in some ways also. Well, when this first happened, we were told that there could be 2 million deaths in the United States. A terrible, frightening thought. But last year, first of all, in one category, there were 690,000 deaths from heart disease. Cancer, over 400,000 deaths. COVID, roughly 350,000. I don't see the CDC addressing these other issues, heart disease and cancer. Those lives are important too, but the media has focused on COVID for some reason. The vaccines are being used because of an emergency use authorization. This is only allowed when there are no treatments, but many doctors are now telling us that there are treatments. Hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, H2O2 used in a nebulizer, and these doctors are getting good results. Already, also, I just want to mention with the vaccinations that they're not the silver bullet that we have expected, as media has told us. Even today, people with COVID or people that have been vaccinated are coming down with COVID. So they're not the silver bullet. They're not the bulletproof vest that we thought they were. It's time for the media to speak up. I think it was last week or last time, the Nevada Board of Health passes mandatory COVID-19 shots for all college students with no dissenting votes. Why are we mandating these vaccinations when they're not 100%? They haven't been proven to be safe 100%. I wish you'd think about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
We have up next Cindy Martinez, followed by Ms. Melanie Sutton.
Good afternoon. May I have the overhead, please?
Ma'am, I ask you to put on the mask, please.
Respectfully, I decline under Directive 24 and my freedom of assembly.
Ma'am.
May I have the overhead, please?
Ma'am, can you please put on a mask?
No.
Excuse me.
No.
We will hold the applause. I stand corrected from legal until then.
Understand that the 4 civilians on this board are participating in violation of our civil rights. And I'm calling on you to stand up or resign. You
Ma'am.
are infringing on our civil rights.
We will
You are
hold.
violating the rights of your fellow Nevadans.
Susie, can
Where
you
are
cut her mic?
where's your conscience? You're gonna cut my mic? Is that what you're gonna do, Councilman Delgado?
Yes, ma'am.
Congressman Lucy, Commissioner
Yes,
Lucy?
ma'am.
And understand, Allied Universal, if you act upon me and infringe on my civil rights,
Excuse me, you're all out,
you are
you're out of
also
order.
infringing on my rights and you are liable. No.
No. Okay. I'm asking you to please put on your mask. I'm asking you to please put on your mask. If you do not want to comply, then I'm asking you to please respectfully leave the building. Please put on your mask.
The district
We will
attorney's
go into
office is
recess.
also in violation of our civil rights,
We will go into recess.
representing Christopher Hill.
Okay, check. Commissioner Lucy, are you on with us? Councilman Dare, are you on with us? Audio check. It looks like someone's connecting. Andrea, can you hear me? Or Zeb, can you hear me?
This is Andrea, and I can hear you.
See Commissioner Anya. Because we had to start it again. I'll go host you again. There's Commissioner.
See, Commissioner Lucy, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can.
So just click to join audio.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Commissioner Lucy, can you hear us?
Through our
I can hear you, yes.
It's a long-term project, so, it won't be happening tomorrow, but we've started those conversations. So this is a map from El Dorado
Yes, sir, I
County
can hear you.
Sheriff's Office. And basically this red area
Working on the audio.
is under evacuation orders. And, there we go. And the yellow area is areas that are under warnings or, be prepared to evacuate. It has things like road
Hey, Commissioner
closures,
Lucy, can you hear us?
where shelters, where can you bring animals. So really basic.
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Really informative.
Can you hear me?
Are you on two meetings? I can hear your call on the DOH.
Maybe somebody is not on mute. So
I think you're not on mute on the DOH session.
Okay. Any questions or comments about that map? No? Okay. And we just thought, this is really great and
That you can't hear us? Okay, just can't hear him.
Oh,
Okay.
you just couldn't answer.
Yeah, so it sounds like Commissioner Lucy can't hear us. Councilman Dare. Okay.
Let me just get this, because I restarted it.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
This is a nightmare. Can anybody else on Zoom hear me?
This is Andrea, and I can hear whoever just spoke.
Yeah, this is
Commissioner Lucy.
okay. You can hear me now.
Yep.
Audio check.
Okay,
Commissioner
good.
Lucy,
Thank
can you
you.
hear us?
Sorry.
So we have the one that we stopped, and then we have 4 more for number 3. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they believe they said they can hear us. So we'll,
Chairman, we can hear you just fine. Thank you.
so we'll wait for Susie to get back to her seat. She can call the next public comment.
We have Ms. Melanie Sutton, followed by Mr. Donald Fossum.
Sorry, let me find it. Anyways, I can't find it. I'm calling on you guys to end the public health emergency. This is a 99% survival rate. We never covered our faces for the flu. That's basically what this is. You guys are masking us. All it is your control. All you're trying to do is control us. Like, you want us to wear a mask and a shield? How does that make any sense? I do not wear a mask anywhere. I've been with tens of thousands of people throughout the last year and a half. I've never been sick. I've hugged them. I had a friend that tested positive just before Thanksgiving. On my way back from a rally, I went to their house. I hugged them. Did I get sick? No, I did not. I'm a healthy individual, and if we're healthy, you should not be segregating us. If you're sick, stay home. That's what we did with the flu, right? So what's the difference between this and the flu? What's the difference? I have more of a chance of getting killed in a car accident, killed by cancer, killed by heart disease, than I do of dying of this flu. As far as the shot, it's not a shot. It doesn't protect you from getting the virus. It doesn't protect you from spreading the virus. In order to get a vaccine, it has to protect you, right? It has to prevent you from spreading it, has to prevent you from getting it. Well, it doesn't do neither of those. Not only that, there should have been an emergency authorization for this shot because it had a therapeutic drug. There's, I think, 7 to 10 of them, therapeutic drugs. You can get treated for this. Stay home, get your medication, get well, and go about your business. We live in America. We live in Nevada. Nevada. Do you guys know the history of Nevada? Do you? We should be proud. We're the ones that got rid of slavery. We became a state to get rid of slavery. We should be the proudest state in the entire nation, and we should be fighting against this tyrant that's in the mansion. We should be fighting. We should have a backbone like our ancestors did. What is wrong with you all? All you care about is power and money. How much money are you guys getting for this? Continuing this BS. This is BS. You all know it. You all know it. And you're still acting like tyrants. The little minions of the tyrant that is in the mansion. Okay? You follow science. Read the science. The science says this is the flu. And there's treatments.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Mr. Donald Fosun, followed by Victoria Meyer.
Hello, board members. May I have the overhead, please? May I have the overhead, please?
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second.
Start his time over, Susie, before he starts. Thank you.
Thank you for resetting the clock. All right, I'm gonna just move ahead with this because I want to save you time. This right here says renewal project. I want it to show up real big. There we go. We got something going on over here. There we go. All right, renewal project. And I want to define that as renew because I like the old. Let's go back to what we had. Let's go back to the freedoms we had. Let's go back to the coerciveness we all had. And let's get along and get on the same page. I mean, I get signals back from here, even though you cannot speak to us, that I know you have to be agreeing with us. Now, that's enough of that. On a more objective note, I went to the North Valley High School the other day, where Commissioner Joe Rodriguez had the boldness to hold a community meet and greet. But ironically, the day before, they had to bench and quarantine the football team, X number of members of the football team, because one of them took one of the questionable testing methods and it came up positive. So what did they do? After all these kids have been waiting so long, get back in action, they put them away. They said, go home, don't come back for 10 days. Well, let me tell you let me give the optics on this, okay? Outside, when I arrived, the kids and the parents were there. The students, football team members were in their jerseys and they all had signs. Nobody showed the progression. The news didn't show a progression of these kids going in, the parents going in, taking up the front rows and getting into this jam session with Joe Rodriguez, and I'm grateful for the other member of the board that was there. But one of the kids asked a very interesting question, and I really got on with the kids know how to ask the right questions. But he asked this one. He says, why are you benching us when there's no proof in the difference in your testing method between COVID and the flu? Well, I had my hand up, I didn't get answered, so I wrote a note. And I walked all the way across the front of the stage at school, and I said, I've always passed out notes in school, and I handed them a piece of paper that said, the difference between COVID and the flu is COVID's a cash cow. And you're milking the son of a bitch.
Excuse
Up
me.
next.
Hold your applauses, please.
Up next, we have Ms. Victoria Meyer.
Okay.
This board can stand up against these emergency powers, the emergency that doesn't exist. When in human history have we segregated or quarantined healthy people? Why the focus on vaccines? Do you suppose in the larger picture that money is the word that pulls all this craziness together? Money, 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 money. How much you getting? Big pharma, big business, politicians, you're all being controlled by money. We have bodily autonomy. I know what's coming with the mandates on the vaccines. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. For the record, I am not an anti-vaxxer. I'm pro-choice for bodily autonomy. This is America. You are elected officials and you do not have the consent of the governed anymore. We have the law on our side. We have history on our side. We have the American spirit on our side. Kevin. We're going to work diligently and persistently to flip this board and every other board that works against this county. We're going to divert as much money away from you as we can in any way we can to get away from your unscientific, irrational, downright harmful practices of requiring these face things. You need to reverse course on this. We're here to take back our county from the clutches of a system gone wrong, a system gone mad, one that is working against solid scientific information, choice, bodily autonomy, and marching to the beat of the my way or the highway Fauciism. Top-down tyranny that you seem to be representing. You're not fooling us. We will not sit idly by while these mandates flow down. We will not. We will gather an army. We will not be silenced. We will not be bullied into submission. We are Americans, we're free, and we will fight for our rights under the Constitution of the United States of America.
Thank you.
No more public comment, Chair.
No problem. Close item 3, public comment. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Mr. District Health Officer, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, thank you, Chair Delgado. We had a request to move the board comment up to after the consent item. So that would be moving the item 13 up before item 8.
Okay. We'll move item 13 to just after the consent, so we'll take that just before item 8.
And Chair, also, I don't know if Christopher Dare is currently on. He has to drop off by 2:45, Councilman Dare. And so he had requested that if possible, the item 9 be conducted while he's able to be at the meeting. Is Councilman Dare on? Do we know? He has a National League of Cities that he's juggling this week, or Nevada League of Cities.
I don't see him logged on.
Okay. Susie, if you could let us know when if Councilman Dare joins us, we'll see what we can do to make that happen.
Will do.
Okay. So outside of those changes, can I get a approval, please? Got a motion? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, recognitions. District Health Officer.
Thank you, Chair Delgado. I'd like to begin with new hires, and we have several people who are patiently waiting to be introduced to the board. So I'd like to begin with Karina Suazo and Zarmesh Tariq, and I'd like to have Lisa Lottritz do an introduction for us.
All right.
Good afternoon, Lisa Lottritz, Division Director for Community and Clinical Health Services. I would like to introduce Karina Suazo. You can want to stand. Karina is a new health educator for our COVID-19 grant activities for the immunization program. She recently worked at Northern Nevada Hopes as a community health worker under the Healthy Money, Habits, and Ryan White program. She graduated from the University of California in San Diego with a Bachelor of Science in Public Health and a Bachelor in Human Development. We're very excited to have her join our team. Welcome, Karina.
Welcome.
And then Zarmesh is on Zoom, so she wasn't able to join us. Zarmesh is a new health educator in our chronic disease prevention program. She will be working on the tobacco prevention activities and as well as responsible cannabis use. Most recently, Zarmesh worked in the tobacco control program for Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Services. And she joins the team with experience in tobacco, as well as a master's degree in public health. And she is currently working on her doctorate of philosophy in equity, diversity, and language in education. And we're happy to have her.
Welcome.
Then I'd also like to announce that Mia Zeb has joined Environmental Health Services and as an environmental health specialist trainee, and she's busy being trained right now, so not able to attend. And we have Lissa Callahan, new statistician with EPHP, and I'd like to ask Dr. Dow to make an introduction of her.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This is Nancy Dow, Division Director of Epidemiology and Public Health Preparedness. I would like to introduce Ms. Lissa Callahan. She is our new COVID statistician for our epidemiology program. Lissa has a background in mathematics and statistics. She's worked previously as a data analyst and scientist in statistical research companies to determine the measurable impact of energy saving programs. She's a great addition to our team, and she comes to us in a much needed time as we continue our efforts with COVID.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Dow. Welcome to all four of you. Look forward to having you guys working with all of you.
Then we also have a retirement, Michael Lupin, and he's not able to be here with us today, but Mr. Lupin has been an environmental health specialist with the Environmental Health Services, and he is retiring after 25 years with the Health District, so congratulations to him. And we have several promotions that I wanted to announce. Kristen DeBraga, who's, I don't believe, with us today, probably busy training at EHS. She's been promoted from a EHS specialist to a senior environmental health specialist. So congratulations to her. Joshua Philpott has been promoted from an EHS trainee to an environmental health services specialist. And we do have a couple of individuals that are with us here today. I would like to recognize also Julia Ratty, who's been promoted from a health educator to our Director of Programs and Projects. And Julia's in the back, if you could maybe stand up or be recognized. And also Felisa Hilliard, who's been promoted from an office support specialist to a program assistant. And both those individuals are in the office of the District Health Officer. So congratulations to both of them. And then we do have Mike Toohey here with us today, and I wanted to recognize him. He has just become a member of the NACHO Food Safety Work Group, the National Association of City and County Health Officials. His term is from July of 21 through June of 2023, and this gives the Health District a voice in that work group, helping to shape national policy around food safety. So
awesome.
Congratulations, and thank you, Mr. Toohey. And then we have some proclamations also, if you'd like me to move into item 6.
You know, congratulations to all those promoted and newcomers and to retirees. We need you more than ever, so thank you for joining Public Health, joining the mission and vision. Appreciate all of you for picking us and working with us. So with that, we'll close item number 5. I don't believe we have public comment on item number 5. Susie, correct?
No public comment, Chair.
All right, we'll close item 5, move on to item 6, proclamations. District Health Officer come forward with some proclamations.
Thank you, Chair Delgado. The first proclamation I'd like to begin with today is our proclamation for International Overdose Awareness Day. So we did have a public comment earlier in the meeting, so I appreciate that people are concerned about overdoses in our community. And this one, we do have, or we're supposed to have Brittany Whale from Join Together Northern Nevada here. And I'm not sure if she's present or on Zoom, but wanted to acknowledge her. Whereas International Overdose Awareness Day is recognized around the world as a day to acknowledge individual loss and family grief for people who have suffered an overdose. And whereas in 2020, there were 916 deaths in Nevada and 93,331 in the United States. And whereas Overdose Awareness Day recognizes overdoses from legal and illicit drugs because it echoes the tragedy of the overdose crisis, allowing us to speak and educate more about the issue. And whereas Overdose Awareness Day raises awareness of and reduces the stigma of drug-related deaths and is an opportunity to honor those who lost their loved one to an overdose. And whereas Overdose Awareness Day celebrates those who have survived an overdose, whereas Overdose Awareness Day sends a strong message to support those suffering from a substance use disorder, to acknowledge they are loved and valued, and whereas Overdose Awareness Day will bring attention to the struggle of addiction in our community while making a commitment to preventing loss of life, and now therefore be it resolved that the Washoe County District Board of Health does hereby proclaim August 31st, 2021 as International Overdose Awareness Day, adopted this 26th day of August 2021, signed by Health District Chairman Oscar Delgado.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Kevin.
And we've got a couple of more proclamations, but I wonder if, do we want to vote on these individually or as a group for the?
Let's, looking at, can we vote on all three together?
They're itemized together, so I think it's fine to take them together.
Okay.
All right. So next we have Breastfeeding Awareness Month, and I have in my notes Kelly Seals to accept this, but I also see we have Kelsey Atkins in the audience, so I'm not sure who's accepting it. Okay, great. If you want to come on up. Whereas breastfeeding is recommended by the United States Surgeon General and the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health, and whereas breastfeeding is recognized by major medical organizations such as the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the American Academy of Family Physicians, the American Dietetic Association, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, and the World Health Organization as the preferred method of infant feeding, and they support breastfeeding throughout the early years of life. And whereas the United States Breastfeeding Committee declares August National Breastfeeding Awareness Month to promote continuity of care for families each step of their infant feeding journey, and whereas the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action is dedicated to the protection, promotion, and support of breastfeeding worldwide and celebrates World Breastfeeding Week August 1st through 7th for the health, well-being, and survival of women, children, and nations. And whereas all available knowledge indicates that human milk optimally enhances the growth, development, and well-being of the infant by providing the best possible nutrition. And whereas human milk is easily digested and contains antibodies passed from the mother to the infant and help protect against illness and allergies. And whereas human milk is a safe infant feeding choice during the COVID-19 pandemic and contains antibodies passed from mother to infant, which protect against infection from COVID-19. And whereas breastfeeding promotes healthier mothers, infants, and children and benefits society through lower healthcare costs, improved health, a more stable workforce, and less waste. Whereas Washoe County Health District and the WIC program support continued education to promote breastfeeding as a high priority to improve the health of infants, children, and women in Washoe County. Now therefore be it resolved that the Washoe County District Board of Health does hereby proclaim the month of August 2021 as Breastfeeding Awareness Month, adopted this 26th day of August 2021, signed by Oscar Delgado, Chairman, Washoe County District Board of Health.
Awesome.
Did you
Thank
want to
you.
make any comments?
Hello, Board. My name is Kelsey Akin. I'm a registered dietitian with the Washoe County WIC program. And WIC is proud to have the month of August be set aside to recognize the importance of breastfeeding to the health of our babies, moms, and community, as well as to honor the hard work of all of Washoe County's breastfeeding moms. And we are excited to share this message with our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Great job. WIC is a big program.
There you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and we also have Emergency Preparedness Month, and Stephen Shipman is going to accept this proclamation. Whereas National Preparedness Month creates an important opportunity for every resident of Washoe County to learn more about ways to prepare for all types of emergencies, including public health threats, potential terrorist attacks, and natural disasters. And whereas it is often neighbors and friends who respond first on scene after an emergency, this year's National Preparedness Month theme is Prepare to Protect. Preparing for disasters is protecting everyone you love. asking all citizens to be ready in case of emergency. And whereas experience tells us that investing in the preparedness of ourselves, our families, businesses, and communities can improve the response to and recovery from a disaster or other emergency, thereby reducing the physical, emotional, and financial impact of that disaster or emergency in our communities and in our nation. And whereas the Washoe County Health District, in coordination with the Washoe County Emergency Management and Homeland Security Program, as well as throughout the various divisions and other state, local, private, and volunteer agencies, are working together to increase public awareness in preparing for public health emergencies and to educate individuals on how to take responsibility for preparedness. And whereas emergency preparedness is the responsibility of every citizen of Washoe County, and everyone is urged to make preparedness a priority, working together to ensure that individuals, families, and communities are prepared for any type of emergency. And whereas all citizens are encouraged to participate in citizen preparedness activities and to visit the website www.readywashoe.com to learn more about emergency preparedness, which includes these simple steps. Make a plan, know who to call, where to meet. Assemble a kit, know what to pack, and have enough supplies for at least 3 days. Stay informed, know about our area's top disasters and related response actions. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Washoe County District Board of Health that September 2021 is National Preparedness Month and encourages all citizens and businesses to develop their own emergency preparedness plan and work together toward creating a more prepared community. Adopted this 26th day of August, 2021, Oscar Delgado, Chairman, Washoe County District Board of Health. And I believe that Mr. Shipman has a few comments he wants to make.
All right.
So good afternoon. My name is Stephen Shipman. I'm a Public Health Emergency Response Coordinator with the Public Health Preparedness Program in Washoe County Health District. September is the National Emergency Preparedness Month. National Preparedness Month is an observance each September to raise awareness about the importance of preparing for disasters and emergencies that could happen at any time. The 2021 theme is Prepare to Protect. Preparing for disasters is protecting everyone you love. The Washoe County Health District is partnering with Washoe County Emergency Management to spread the word through social media and distribution of educational materials at the Great Reno Balloon Races. Today, we request that the District Board of Health proclaim September 2021 as National Preparedness Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shipman.
Chair, we have a public comment signed for this item.
We do, you said, Susie?
Yes, we have Ms. Janet Butcher signed for this.
Again, it's wonderful that you're having a awareness of overdose drug day. But education and awareness, we all know, we're all aware, we've been taught for years. We know it's there, we know there shouldn't be any stigma to it, but what are you doing? Lip service, nothing but lip service. What about an action to stop some of the illegal stuff coming across our borders? That would be a big, big help. No, it's not going to 100% solve the problem. We all know that. I'm going to real quick say something about the breastfeeding. Whatever you eat, drink, or inject affects your baby. I know, I breastfed. So how does the experimental drug affect the flow of the milk? Need to think about that.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
No more public comment.
Okay, we'll close item 6, proclamations. Congratulations to all those applied and for the different days. Yes, can I please have a motion to accept the 3 proclamations?
So moved.
Motion?
Second, Vega.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, consent items. Looking to the board, are there any items you'd like to pull? See none. Any, Commissioner Lucy, anyone on Zoom like to pull? Seeing none, before we take a vote,
I have nothing.
any public comment on any general consent?
No public comment, Chair.
No public comment on consent. Can I please have a motion?
Motion to accept the consent.
Motion, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 8, we'll go to item 13, board comments. Comments from the board? Dr. Danko, I believe you...
I have a comment.
Okay.
I waited 2.5 years to make a comment, so the time is now or never. Thank you for having me on the board. I am honored to be here. I am honored and humbled every day to have the opportunity to do what I do for a living. I've spent the last 18 months of my work inside COVID units, watching nursing homes get obliterated by infection and treating patients in the hospital where the escalation has already reached the maximum level that modern medicine has to offer, plus countless calls and video consults from neighbors and friends. I've watched and had to tell people that there is nothing more that we can do. I've listened to patients beg for a vaccine, but have to tell them that it's now too late. I remember the start of the pandemic. It was the first time I was afraid to walk into a hospital since medical school. This pandemic had me facing my own mortality as I watched people my own age gasping for breath, maximized on oxygen support. So now I sit on the health board in the county I grew up in. I attended kindergarten through medical school and residency here, and I've had the opportunity to work in every hospital in Reno and Sparks. I respect each person's opinion and rights to make informed decisions. I honor and welcome diversity and open conversation. But I also took an oath to practice medicine, to treat the ill to the best of my ability, to preserve a patient's privacy, and to teach the practice of medicine to the next generation. The practice of medicine integrates science, the individual patient and his pathologies, and meets him where he is in his treatment plan. In medicine, we make recommendations, and it's my job to ensure that patients understand the diagnoses and the risks and benefits of getting treatment or not seeking treatment. My personal beliefs and my political views never enter these discussions because they're simply not relevant to health. Our guidelines in the treatment of disease, including for COVID-19, both in and outside of the hospital, have continued to evolve over the past 18 months. Medications that we used in spring of 2020 are no longer supported by data and are replaced with different medication regimens. Thank goodness for this evolution. Regardless of your personal views, your political views, freedoms, your rights, in medicine, the basic premise is and has always been weighing the balance between risks and benefits. In or out of a pandemic, COVID or any other disease, data continues to evolve and we modify recommendations based on evolving data to provide the most benefit with the least risk. Many more people have the opportunity to stay alive and have better quality of life because of advances in science and medicine. This wouldn't be true if we stuck to what we knew, chose not to study new options, and continued treating heart disease, cancer, and other ailments the same as we did centuries or even decades ago. I often hear the phrase, "I cannot wait until this pandemic is over." I say it myself. Most medical conditions don't resolve without effort or treatment, and neither will this pandemic. We don't have a quick solution, but we do have combinations of factors that we can do to provide benefit and reduce risk. We promote prevention measures. I do not tell patients to ignore symptoms and seek treatment only on the brink of death, right before cardiovascular collapse. And we shouldn't ignore prevention measures of viral spread until our ability to provide healthcare collapses. Do masks work to prevent infection? Worn appropriately? Of course they do. Surgeons have worn them for centuries to prevent infection for you while operating inside of your body every day. We wear masks all day in healthcare settings, and it's not difficult to breathe, and it's not creating an oxygen-deprived state. Masks also protect the weakest and the most vulnerable in our communities. Plus, we don't just wear masks for ourselves, but also to help others. For those who choose not to wear a mask to help the effort towards ending the pandemic and getting back to life before 2020, there are alternatives and modifications without increasing the risk to others. Vaccines have been vital in eradicating and controlling disease. I was nervous when I got my COVID vaccine within the first days of it receiving emergency authorization in the United States in December. But the devastation of the COVID infections I treat and the long-term health consequences far outweighed any possible risk of the vaccine. You don't just get vaccinated for yourself. You get vaccinated to help others. I didn't accept this board position to argue or to prove anything, but I am an advocate. I'm an advocate for those I have and continue to watch die from this, families who lose loved ones every day, and for those who continue to fight to prevent disease or stay alive. We can find options, regardless of your fears and beliefs. The rest is simple and comes from being a kind human, not from being a doctor. If there's something I can do to help someone else or protect someone else, will I choose to do that? But the more time we spend arguing, rather than uniting in the best information we have available to us at this time, the longer we promote risk over benefit. And specifically, to address Commissioner Lucy, I read your open letter to the governor addressing your opposition to masks. Masks do reduce infection, and they don't reduce vaccination rates. In fact, the recent reintroduction of mask mandates has improved the vaccination rate nationwide. Furthermore, I don't decide to either wash my hands or wear a mask when I treat patients, and I don't tell patients that they must pick between treating their diabetes or their heart disease. We mitigate the risk by treating both, and always through multimodal treatment strategies. Our role and duty in public health doesn't mean we pick one thing to support. It means we follow evolving data, prevention measures, and a combination of factors to help reduce risk and provide the most benefit to the individual and to the community. So in closing, the next time when there's a recommended health recall on contaminated lettuce, do we all still have the freedom to eat it? Of course we do, but some things just don't make sense.
Thank you very much, Dr. Danko, for your comments. I know you are living and practicing. It's not just something you see on TV. And I appreciate all your hard work. You really are a hero for us, and I know you're battling that every single day. So thank you, truly.
Thank you for saying that.
Any other board comments from the board? I think that says it all, so thank you. We'll close item number 13. Move on to item 8, which is Regional Emergency Medical Services Authority. 8A is review and acceptance of the REMSA operations report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Aaron Abbott, Executive Director of Operations at REMSA Health. You all received a copy of our July compliance report for review, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have about the reports.
Any questions for Mr. Abbott? Seeing none, can I get a motion, please, for acceptance? Motion,
Second.
second. I'm sorry, Susie, is there any public comment?
No, Chair.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
Thank you.
8B, REMSA Public Relations.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Alexia Jobson, Public Affairs Manager for REMSA Health, for the record. You have for your review the Public Relations Report for July. A couple of other things to mention. On August 19th, Jerry Overton, the president of the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch, visited REMSA Health. We hosted a community conversation breakfast event that morning where Mr. Overton gave an address on the state of emergency dispatch for medical, fire, and law enforcement. The event was well attended and there were engaging questions and meaningful dialogue. Later in the day, Mr. Overton had the opportunity to visit our Regional Emergency Communication Center. He celebrated our ACE accreditation and listened to ideas and insights from REMSA Health registered nurses and medical dispatchers. Also, over the last month, as REMSA Health ground operations have seen record-breaking call volume, we've been working very hard, particularly with our media partners, to share the message that it's important to preserve 911 for emergencies. Symptoms of stroke, cardiac arrest, and severe allergic reaction and difficulty breathing are medical emergencies, and we want the highest level of care to be available to respond. So when people call 911 and do not have a medical emergency, we may be navigating them through a different and more appropriate care pathway. KTVN, KOLO, and KRNV all recently worked with us to share this critically important message. And finally, on August 18th, Adam Hines, our Executive Director of Integrated Healthcare, was invited to participate in an event with Senator Cortez Masto about the air quality due to the wildfire smoke in our region and the impact we have seen for residents and how it affects our call and response volume. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Ms. Jobson?
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Item 8C, review and discussion, possible approval. Mr. Abbott.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Again, for the record, Aaron Abbott, Executive Director of EMS Operations for REMSA Health. This item comes back to you after the request of this board at the July 22nd District Board of Health meeting. This item was requested by this body to go and be discussed at the EMS Advisory Board. We did go back to the EMS Advisory Board and received a recommended action for this item. The advisory board recommended changes to the REMSA exemption criteria letter that were in alignment with including the multi-agency evacuation agreement language under the MCI criteria for the exemption letter, changing the due dates to be consistent at 5-day deadlines for submissions, changed some language regarding weather exemptions from a form to a checklist, some miscellaneous exemption changes, and changes to the language in status 99. The board did recommend and request that REMSA come back and have more robust discussion regarding changes that were recommended regarding local, state, and federal declared emergencies and construction exemptions. So what we have in front of you today is a recommendation to approve the exemption letter for the changes that were recommended by the EMS Advisory Board that are basically all of those with the exclusion of local, state, federally declared emergency and construction language changes.
Any questions for Mr. Abbott? Thank you for taking the time to meet with the advisory group. That meant a lot to us to make sure there's transparency conversation with respect to all the great work that you guys are doing. Is there any public comment on item 8C?
No, Chair.
No. Discussion from the board? Can I get a motion, please?
To approve the recommended changes by both board and REMSA for the exemption guidelines to the letter, as presented to the meeting.
I have a motion. Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, presentation regarding the ILA between the county and the cities. Mr. District Health Officer.
Thank you, Chair Delgado. I had the opportunity to meet with the
And before you start, my apologies, is Councilman Dare on? I know this is an item he wanted to hear.
I do not see him logged in.
Okay.
I don't believe he's going to have a chance to because he had to present at a session at 2:45 today. So I had the opportunity to meet with the city and county managers on Tuesday of this week, August 24th. So Doug Thornley, City of Reno, Neil Kreutz, City of Sparks, and Eric Brown, Washoe County. And to talk with them about the interlocal agreement, and I also briefed them on the board's discussion at the last meeting and the recommendation from the board on a change to the interlocal agreement to change the name of the health district, and the request that I have a discussion with them about their thoughts of regarding the interlocal meeting. And so we had a discussion around several different areas, and the managers also were supportive of a name change to the Washoe County Health District with the recognition that there is confusion that's created about the health district and our governance under this board versus under the Board of County Commissioners. However, there was an understanding that this was something that needed to be done thoughtfully and not rushed into. And so what we discussed was actually some approach that I discussed with our communications manager as well previously, which is to proceed with bringing an outside firm on to help identify what an appropriate name for the health district should be, and how we would rebrand that effort. And the consensus of the managers was that we begin that effort now so that in 2022, we have that work accomplished so that we can, at that point, amend or otherwise change the interlocal agreement to incorporate the new name for the Washoe County Health District, which would then launch that rebrand in January of 2023 when that interlocal agreement would become effective. They didn't believe that further changes to the interlocal agreement were advisable at this time, and but they did feel that once we had further moved through our response to the global COVID-19 pandemic, that we should proceed with holding some facilitated discussions around the health district and what we can do better, what needs to be changed, and if so, are there changes that are recommended for the interlocal agreement. We discussed also some of the discussion that occurred during the board meeting about whether to add additional representatives to the Board of Health that would represent types of industries or economic sectors. And they recognized that under the Nevada revised statutes, 349, 340, that, I think that's a typo actually, it should be 439, 390, that prescribes the composition of the board as being made up of 6 members, 2 each appointed by the jurisdictions, and a physician appointed by the board. And so there's not an opportunity to add additional board members under existing statute. We also discussed the idea of alternates for board members to attend meetings when board members weren't available to attend. And the consensus was that since alternates were not authorized expressly under NRS 439, that we should not try to pursue trying to have alternates appointed to the board. And so that's the summary of what we discussed with them, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you. District Health Officer, comments for the District Health Officer from the board? Looking to any comments, Commissioner Lucy or Councilman Dare, if you're on Zoom, for District Health Officer regarding the ILA item 9.
Seeing none, Chairman, thank you. I do appreciate the Health
District Health Officer for moving forward. I know this was a conversation we had previously, and appreciate you taking the lead and meeting with the city managers and the county manager. Sounds like a lot of this was covered previously, but it's great to have clarity and conversation with our jurisdictions. I appreciate their sentiments. Looks like those carried forward from a conversation at the dais. So it looks like we're on the same page for the most part. So we'll continue to engage once the pandemic's past us, and continue to see how we can hold conversations with the liaison groups or different sectors in our community to make sure that they're informed about the great work that's happening here at the District Health Board. Do we need to take a motion on that, Ms. Reed?
It is a possible action item if there's an action that you want to take insofar as forwarding any recommendations to the respective jurisdictions. That's fine. A motion's not required if there isn't any desired action by this board.
Okay. So we'll make a motion after we take public comment. We have public comment on item 9?
Chair, just as a disclosure, these items, we have 2 public comment that was randomly selected for this number, and per agenda, each comment has to be specific to the item that we're hearing. So I can call the public comment, but I'm not sure if it's specific to this particular item.
I'm sorry, so we have 2 public comment, but we don't know if it's for this item?
Well, it was randomly selected. This item number was randomly selected just because the public comment is a wish of the commenter.
We'll
call it.
Public comment, sure.
Yeah, we have Ms. Janet Butcher, followed by Ms. Victoria Meyer.
I have a few suggestions for your name change, but they probably wouldn't be appropriate to say them in public. There is not currently a vaccination that has been approved by the FDA. Like another lady said, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. In fact, I was very upset in 1974 when they wouldn't let my second child have a smallpox vaccine. But until this thing is approved and approved properly, it is nothing but an experimental drug. I have a friend who was suffering from cancer, and she took an experimental drug, and it saved her life. She chose.
Dr.
It was a choice.
What is happening?
This is an experimental drug, and we should have the ability to choose. Number one, any doctor should know that. Number two, we all know the studies show that masks do not work. And on a further note, Kamala Harris told me last fall not to get the shot.
Thank you. Next.
We have Ms. Victoria Meyer.
I want to thank you for your comments. I agree. We have heartfelt issues with people when they get sick. I have doctors who have worked on the front lines of COVID.
I've seen that.
When you talk about mask wearing, you must speak for yourself, though. I have a hard time breathing in them. So you can't speak for me on that. And this isn't about anti-vaccine. It's about choice. It's about no mandates. There are treatment options. We've learned a lot in a year. There's many things that doctors do on the front lines.
But as Janet said, when it comes to healthcare issues and your doctor, you know, these vaccines are being given out by CVS, pharmacy, you know, they're not doctors. They don't know anything about anybody's health situation when they come in, whether or not I have an issue that would preclude me from getting a vaccine, but they're just being mandated. We know it's coming. We know you're going to do this. We know you're going to create vaccine passports. And we're telling you that's wrong. It's just wrong. If you're in the medical field, you know that choice is important. Autonomy, my health, my choice. This should be up to the individual and my doctor, not some board, not Kevin Dick. You don't know anything about my health history. You're going to exclude me from restaurants and bars and gyms if I don't get a vaccine. It's coming. We already know. It's happening across the country. Don't do it here. Don't do it here. Please. Get the vaccine. Anybody who wants it can get it. That's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I have an opinion, but it doesn't really matter here. It's about autonomy over my own body. This is America. Health care. Enhancing quality of life. Please honor that. If you require vaccine passports, you are not enhancing quality of life. And it's just unthinkable in a free country that we can't choose over our own bodies. You want to say pro-choice when it comes to abortion. Sure, y'all get behind that. But you're going to try and force me like they're lining kids up at TMCC right now and down the hallway and sticking a needle in their arm. Some of them have had to leave in tears. I heard the health state.
Thank you. General information for those that are providing public comment, please make sure that they are associated with the item before us. If you would still like to make general public comment, we have that item available at the end of the agenda. Susie, do we have any more public comment associated with this item?
No more public comment, Chair.
Okay, we'll close item 9. I believe we still needed a motion, or if there's an action.
Make a motion to accept Kevin's report as provided.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Mr. District Health Officer, for meeting with the managers. Item number 10, recommendation to approve Washoe County Health District Public Records Policy. District Health Officer.
Thank you, Chair Delgado. This is an action that we're bringing following the board's adoption last month of the Washoe County's public records policy for use by the board. And so this is an addendum to that policy that clarifies what we will do as far as our cost recovery for cost for filling public records requests that exceed normal types of requests that are easy for us to fill. So what we're proposing is that we utilize the 2-hour time period as the period that we would provide for staff time for being able to fulfill those records requests before it triggered our cost recovery activities. And that for cost recovery, the addendum outlines that we would be providing paper copies at 5 cents per page. Any records that require redaction be provided by paper copy. We're able to do electronic copy for our files for most things. The electronic storage devices, if they're required for fulfilling the request, would be at actual cost. Postage charged at actual cost. And then the personnel costs, we would charge at $30.42 per hour or 51 cents per minute. And this is based on the cost of one of our lower level positions that could fulfill some of the requests. There are going to be a lot of requests that we actually have personnel costs that exceed this. And this is the hourly rate with benefits for that position. So that's the way that we came up with that cost. We would post these fees in publicly accessible areas. We would also, though, work with the requesters. So if there was going to be a cost for fulfilling the public records request, we would then have a discussion with the requester on what we estimate that cost to be able to work with them to provide an opportunity if they wanted to narrow the request. And in my experience, the public records requests that really are costly for us to fulfill are those that are really overly broad and require us to go to thousands and thousands of communications to find sometimes what's a needle in a haystack. And so that would allow them the opportunity to refine the request. And then once the request is fulfilled, we would ask them to pay half the cost up front for their good faith in paying for the public records request. And then we would charge the remainder based on actual cost to us on the end. And then the other item that's included in the addendum is identifying that we do have information in our databases that includes electronic mail addresses, telephone numbers, other addresses, et cetera, which are confidential and may not be disclosed in their entirety unless that's required under an order issued by a court. I think that's my summary of what we have in the addendum, and so we're looking for the board to approve this.
Comments for District Health Officer regarding item 10? Do we have anything from commissioners or council member on Zoom?
Just for the record, Chair,
Yeah.
Commissioner Lucy signed off at 2:45, and
Okay.
Councilman Dare has not signed off.
Okay. Do we have any public comment associated with item 10?
No public comment.
So I'll look to take a motion. Motion. It's in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, District Health Officer. Item 11, discussion and possible direction to staff and process selection for the management appraisal for a form for District Health Officer. Do we have Griffey?
Hi, this is Lori Griffey, the HR rep for the Health Department. I'm here today to request the board's
Can you
direction.
unmute yourself, Lori?
Pardon me? Can you hear me?
Can't hear you. We're working on it. Did he try?
Can you hear me now?
Still nothing. Nope.
You're still muted. I believe you have to turn on your audio on your device, Lori.
That working? Cancel.
Is she providing the staff report? No, we're doing. We use the division staff report. Okay, I'll get to that too. All right, Ms. Griffey, if you wouldn't mind, maybe you can swing over and we'll come back to your item, if you wouldn't mind.
I'll be right.
Thank you. So we'll put that on hold for now. We'll move on to item 12, staff reports and program updates. 12A, air quality management, Mr. Vega.
Where'd my mask go?
Is this on?
Yep.
Thank you, Chair Legato, members of the board. For the record, Francisco Vega, Director of the Washoe County Air Quality Management Division. As you can imagine, we've been pretty busy with wildfire smoke lately. Got some information I'd like to kind of share with you guys.
Yeah.
We have recorded 30 exceedances of the National Ambient Air Quality Standards this year, which is a record. We have been monitoring PM10 for 34 years and PM 2.5 for 22 years in Washoe County, and we have measured some of the highest daily averages ever recorded in the last week. Specifically, all 10 of the worst PM 2.5 days have occurred in the last 11 months. The Caldor Fire, which is burning in El Dorado County, has burned over 130,000 acres and is approximately 11% contained. The Dixie Fire, which is burning in Plumas, Lassen, Tehama, and Butte counties, has burned over 700,000 acres and is approximately 45% contained. These fires are impacting the health and welfare of the citizens of Washoe County, and all indications are pointing to that these fires will continue to have impacts for months. The Air Quality Division has completed over a dozen media requests over the last few days, and the media requests just aren't local. They are coast to coast and include Good Morning America, ABC News, and the Washington Post. Lastly, I'd just like to mention and remind Washoe County citizens and businesses owners that the role of the Air Quality Management Division is to provide the best information and data available so that they may make the best decisions possible. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Vega? Sina, thank you for your report. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. 12B, Ms. Lauritz, Community and Clinical Health Services.
Thank you, Lisa Latritz, Division Director for Community and Clinical Health Services. I just wanted to add that the immunization team has been very, very busy with back to school, and we had 4 Saturday clinics that we collaborated with Community Health Alliance, and our final numbers, 549 kids were vaccinated, and 1,427 vaccines were given.
Wow.
We had lines all the way through the halls, and it was a great turnout. Along with that, we did COVID vaccination on all 4 of those Saturdays as well. We've been making sure we facilitate walk-ins in the clinic just to help parents get their kids into class as soon as possible. That's all I have to add, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Lauritz? Sina, thank you. Appreciate your report. Thank you. Going on to item 12C. Ms. Dixon, there you are. Environmental Health Services.
Good afternoon. For the record, Erin Dixon with Environmental Health Services. In addition to the report, I would just like to highlight some positive outcomes from a few of our environmental health teams. Our food program partnered with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration on a local warehouse inspection. Due to our collaboration, 17 pallets of product, which is primarily infant formula, was destroyed. The FDA issued a product recall on these items on August 9th. Primary issue was labeling and also did not meet the iron levels necessary for infant formula. The EHS EPI team was working with the child care facility that struggled to stop an RSV outbreak. A team member provided an after-hours training for the child care staff, and you can see from the chart in the report that there were no new cases reported after that site visit and training. This highlights the effectiveness of this team and their efforts. Our waste management team provided a 30-yard dumpster for a large-scale hoarding case. The owner did take advantage of the dumpster, and they did fill it in a timely manner, which is very nice. And finally, EHS will be holding public workshops in September for 2 different topics, one for our updated food regulations, and one for updates to our UST, or underground storage tank program, sorry. Feedback is really important to us, so we've identified multiple ways to get feedback from the community. Notices will be sent to all permit holders regarding the changes in workshops. The workshops will be held in person, and virtual options will be offered. Translation services will also be available for those workshops. And finally, for those that cannot attend, an online feedback form will also be available on our website. And with that, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Any questions from the board? Comments? Seeing none, thank you for your report. Good work, good work. Item 12D, Dr. Dow, Epidemiology and Public Health Preparedness.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, this is Nancy Dow,
Okay.
Division Director of Epidemiology and Public Health Preparedness. Quick updates, our hospital preparedness program has started our annual resource and gap analysis planning for this fiscal year. We have already sent out the hazard vulnerability analysis and resource and gap analysis surveys to all of our healthcare partners to be completed. This is a very important planning step for our program. Every year, a comparison between available resources and current hazard vulnerability analysis helps identify gaps and help us prioritize activities for the Healthcare Coalition and its members in the following calendar year. Gaps may include a lack of or inadequate plans or procedures, supplies, expertise, services, or any other resources required to respond to an emergency. And the resource assessments will be identified for different member types. So in the coming month, HCC members will meet in small groups, and after data are collected and prioritize gaps based on consensus and to determine mitigation strategies based on their time, materials, and resources necessary to address and close them. So for our epidemiology program, we have stepped into the school season. Other than juggling our COVID disease, investigating, prioritizing school-age children in an effort to keep schools open, we are also continuing to keep track of all general communicable diseases. We will be rolling out a back-to-school EpiNews series to cover common diseases that you see circling in daycares and school settings, such as pertussis, influenza, hand, foot, mouth disease. We will also be including news on childhood immunizations. That's all my updates. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Dow? See none from the board. Well, thank you so much for your report, Dr. Dow.
Thank you.
Good work. Item 12E, District Health Officer, your report.
Thank you, Chair Delgado. I'd like to begin with our COVID-19 response and provide some updates there. And if you read my report, you'll see that I started with our statutory obligations under NRS 441A. And that was in response to comments that I heard from the dais of the Board of County Commissioners during their August 14th meetings, questioning what was driving our COVID-19 response and why we cared about anything more than the hospitals being managed so that they could accept a patient and admit them when they showed up at the hospital. Under NRS, we're responsible for carrying out measures for the investigation, prevention, suppression, and control of communicable diseases. The comments from the dais also continued with questioning why we're trying to control a communicable disease, and statements that were made that we shouldn't be trying to do that because we've never, ever been able to control a viral disease in our history. And I was astonished by that. And I hope that most people understand that smallpox, polio, chickenpox, measles, mumps, rubella are all viral diseases that we've controlled through our public health measures and with vaccinations that have been available for those diseases. And I think it's also important for people to understand, and Dr. Danko mentioned it, that it's not just a matter of people that are hospitalized and die. There are many people that have serious long-term consequences from having COVID-19, whether they're admitted to the hospital or not. So we are trying to protect and enhance the quality of life and well-being for our community with our actions. As an update on where we are with the number of cases that are occurring, I provided cases from August 18th. And so under our state county tracker system, our test positivity rate over 14 days with a 7-day lag is now at 19.6. And our case rate per 100,000 over 30 days is now at 1,156. we are now exceeding the test positivity rate and the case rate per 100,000 in Clark County. And it appears that Clark County has plateaued and hopefully will continue to decline from that plateau with what they're seeing. In looking at the CDC criteria that designate us as a region of high transmission, the positivity rate is currently at 21.7. That's as of August 22nd under the CDC reporting system. And so fortunately, that actually is reduced from 22.99 that I reported on August 19th. So I'm hopeful that we are beginning to plateau and that our positivity rate will decline. Our testing has increased dramatically over the last month and a half. Just at the health district alone, we have gone from a demand for testing of about 75 to 100 people in the course of a week to 2,000 to 2,500 people that we're testing now. So while our positivity rate appears to be plateauing, our case rate has increased, and the cases per 100,000 over a 7-day period are at 361.31 under the CDC criteria. I'm hopeful that that will be stabilizing and will be plateauing as Clark County did, and we can see some decline. But sadly, so far through the month of August, we have reported 32 deaths in the course of the month to date, which far exceeds the 5 deaths that we reported for June and the 5 deaths that we reported for July. But also, sadly, this is what we've come to expect with COVID-19, as you see that lag in fatalities occurring after we have people that become seriously ill and are hospitalized. I do have some important milestones, though, for the board to also recognize. With our vaccination efforts, we are now at over 60% of our 12 and older population that are fully vaccinated, and we're at 67% of our 12 and older population that's initiated vaccinations. However, we need to also remember we need to have that immunity throughout our entire population, and we're at just over 51% of the total population that's completed vaccinations. And today, we're also reporting that we've administered over 500,000 vaccinations to people, residents of Washoe County to date. So I think that's a tremendous number. I did want to note, and if we could get the image posted too, the problems that we're having with misinformation and the hesitancy of people getting vaccines that's helping to provide. Our last Board of Health meeting, we posted to YouTube, and then that posting, YouTube removed the meeting from their website platform because of the misinformation that occurred during the public comment period during that meeting.
Wow.
Yeah. And
so, sorry, say that again. So we had our public meeting.
At a public meeting.
On YouTube for people to get a hold of. And because during public comment, there was misinformation, and so YouTube took that down.
YouTube took it down. Our communications manager appealed to YouTube, and the appeal was denied.
Wow. Let that soak in. Wow.
And
Okay.
then on the graphic here is misinformation that we discovered is being spread today with the Washoe County Health District logo on it, announcing that vaccines are going to be required effective October 20th, that you'd need to show proof of vaccination to go into bars, restaurants, clubs, and gyms. This is not anything that we have put out. We have not, required this. We've gone on social media to post that this is misinformation. And so this is just additional activity to attempt to sow discord in our community. We've heard comments about alternative treatments, and whatnot, and Dr. Danko had to respond yesterday to questions about ivermectin, and CDC posted a special health alert on that today, sadly enough, because of misinformation that's being spread that's hurting people. And also in my report, I noted that in the Department of Homeland Security's new terrorism bulletin that was issued on August 13, they noted that U.S. adversaries are attempting to spread disinformation, and stated that Russian, Chinese, and Iranian government-linked media outlets have repeatedly amplified conspiracy theories concerning the origins of COVID-19 and effectiveness of vaccines. The Homeland Security Intelligence Chief, Chief John Cohen, said, "What we're seeing, mainly from China, Russia, and Iran, currently is a lot of focus on the COVID-19 issue." He went on to say that foreign nation states have focused on sowing discord related to resurgence of COVID-19 around the idea that public health restrictions are somehow an infringement on one's freedom, or calling into question the U.S. government's response to the pandemic. On a lighter note, I'd like to point out we did have a successful Family Health Festival on July 24th at North Valleys High School, where we provided, along with partners, a number of services to families in our community. The final statistics actually came up with 505 individuals served, and of note was 46% of those had a primary care physician, which was equal to the 46% that had health insurance coverage. So it's an important service for our community to provide these family health festivals for people, particularly uninsured, to be able to access some of these services. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Any comments for District Health Officer? Late to his report. So is there any general public comment related to these items for items 12, Susie?
No, Chair, no comments.
Okay, we'll close item 12. We'll go back to item 11, seeing now that Ms. Griffey's here. Thank you for making your way over. I know we had some technical difficulties. Appreciate that.
I apologize for those technical difficulties. This is Lori Griffey, the HR rep for the Health Department. I'm here today to ask the board to choose what kind of questions they want to use for the health officer's evaluation. You have two different samples in your packet. We have used the same evaluation questions as they have for the county manager for the last 5 years. And now this year they changed it. And they've gone with a different process, and we would like to see if the board would consider using that same process for the district health officer this year.
Thank you, Ms. Griffey, for the options. Board, do you have any comments with respect to using the process that my understanding is the one that's before us mirrors what the county manager utilizes?
Yes, the one that we've used in the past was a single survey. They went to all the participants and everybody got all the same questions. The new process the county has started separates it into separate surveys that go to different groups. So there'd be like one group for the Board of Health, one for stakeholders, one for direct reports. And the questions more are related to their interaction with the health officer. So they're not asked to answer all these random questions. They're answering questions that are related to their interactions with the health officer.
More of a 360 review kind of process?
The 360 review, yes.
Okay. Appreciate that. Any comment from the board with respect to one or the other? I'll support the one that mirrors the current county manager's process. I don't know if I have agreement from the board. Susie, any public comment with respect to item 11?
No comment, Chair.
Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
Second.
Motion second, all with the mirroring the county managers. Okay.
Sounds good. I will set those up and bring them back to you next month. So for a final review, along with a list of participants for the board to review and approve.
All right. I got a motion second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Griffey.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to final item 14, public comments. Susie?
Yes, Chair, it seems like the Zoom participants are having issues speaking into our meeting.
Yeah.
So, but we do have Ms. Rachel Huff, who signed up for public comment. I have asked her to call me so we can play her message, but she hasn't done that, so I don't know if we want to take the ones that registered after her and wait for her to call me. Is that
Sure.
okay?
Yes, let's
Okay,
move
so we
forward.
have Ms. Janet Butcher signed up for public comment.
I'm wondering if today's meeting will be pulled from YouTube. There seems to be a little bit of misinformation from today's meeting.
Susie, we get the clock, please. Sorry, thank you.
Oh, the clock. Mr. Dick made a statement about some comments being made at the diocese. I didn't hear anybody make anything referencing that whatsoever. I can't exactly remember what statement, what it was that he made, but I know all of a sudden the hairs on my back were just like, oh my God, nobody got up here and made that general statement. But I do believe in natural immunity. In 1957, I was 9 years old. You can do the math. I suffered from the H2N2 pandemic. Nobody in my family was isolated except me. Nobody in my neighborhood except me. And nobody in my town except those that had it. So it's just, and nobody ran around wearing masks. If you look at an N95 mask box, it specifically states that it will not stop a virus. So why do we keep saying wear the mask? It's not stopping the virus. It's just, it's silly. And if you look at some of the pictures of you people, the school board, when you, several years from now, when people look back on that, how horrible, ridiculous. Little kids are learning not to know people's expressions. And it's so sad. I have an immune-compromised transplant daughter. We learned how to keep the environment safe. Homeless people are running around. Probably 90% of them don't wear masks. And I bet that there isn't a big outbreak because they have the natural immunities. If you're talking about the quality of life, what about the dead people who died from the shot? I have a cousin whose 45-year-old son died last week, blood clot, after getting the shot. I have a friend who's running around her house right now on oxygen after she got the shot. The so-called vaccine is not the answer to everything. It's just, I'm just so shocked at some of the misinformation, even from doctors who keep saying this. Yes. Okay, I'm done, I guess.
Thank you.
Ms. Rachel Huff?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time to hear my comments today. I'm a citizen of the Reno community and just coming to you today to express my support for the common sense mandates you're enforcing to keep our community safe and open during the challenges of this pandemic. I'm also urging you to continue to hold science at the forefront despite the loud voices of those who are opposing that. I was upset to hear that the COVID-19 vaccine was not offered to families during the back-to-school immunization events that were held by the county. These vaccine clinics offer other non-mandatory vaccines, such as the flu vaccine, and the decision not to offer the COVID-19 vaccine seemed to be a little bit of a disregard for some public health concerns and the desire to increase vaccination rates within our community. And I would just urge you to include the COVID-19 vaccine in any public immunization clinics that are offered in the future. I'm also asking that the Washoe County Board of Health, as the board which advises Northern Nevada on all medical issues, to continue to put pressure on the school board to enforce the use of masks by all individuals on school campus properties, whether they're students, visitors, or parents, and to add the COVID-19 vaccine to the list of mandated vaccinations required for children to attend school. Our children are able to go to school safely without fear of contracting polio, measles, rubella, and other debilitating and life-threatening diseases, not simply because these went away magically, but because of the science of vaccination. In addition to the physical effects of COVID-19, depression, anxiety, and suicidality have been increasing steadily for young people throughout this pandemic, which is often related to social isolation, loss of meaningful activities, and the loss of educational opportunities. I believe that if we do not maintain common sense safety measures, we risk once again losing the in-person learning environment that so many of our students have been craving and needing. And as a mental health professional in this community who has worked with students within the K-12 system, I believe it's imperative that Northern Nevada uses the tools it can, such as masks and vaccines, to keep the doors of our businesses and schools open. For many of the students in our community, school may be the only safe environment that they have. And for many others, the loss of in-person education has simply been too much to bear. And as our school district says, we care about each child by name and face, and we need to prove it through our actions. Please continue to use your expertise as the Board of Health to work with the school board to implement safety measures backed by leading scientists around the globe. Lastly, I truly believe that my personal freedoms end when they reach the point of endangering the safety of others. This is how we have operated as a nation for generations. And now is not the time to let the screams of personal freedoms cloud our judgment. Individually, we are only as healthy and prosperous as we are as a whole. Please continue to base your decisions on the health and well-being of all rather than the comfort and convenience of a few. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Any further public comment, Susie?
Just for the record, Chair, we had Mr. Nicholas St. John and Mr. Roger Edwards, but they're no longer in the audience.
Okay. Seeing none. Any comments from the board before we close up? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Third.
Aye.
All opposed. Thank you. Everybody be safe out there. Thank you guys for sticking around and allowing us to finish business this afternoon. Be safe.